going on. Welcome, Senator. I would like to call this meeting of the Long Range Capital Planning and Utilization Committee to order. I would note that Representative Michael Edgar, who is an alternate, is filling in for Representative McConkey, who is unable to be here. And Senator Hennessy is filling in for Senator Gaida. So, either one. They're both absent. I would remind the members of the committee and anybody who comes to testify that this is being live streamed. So if you want to ask a question or talk, you need to make sure that the red button is pushed and you're talking in the microphone so that it does go out and it is being recorded. With that, the first order of business is the acceptance of the minutes of the January 24th, 2022 meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or omissions in the minutes? Seeing none, I would accept the motion on the minutes.
Move approval.
Senator D'Alessandro moves approval, seconded by Representative Cloutier. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the minutes of the last meeting are approved. There is no old business. New business under RSA 439-C, disposal of highway or turnpike-funded real estate. Lrcp 22-004 from the Department of Transportation, authorization to sell .19 plus or minus of an acre parcel of state-owned land within the limited access right-of-way located on the easterly side of New Hampshire Route 16, Spalding Turnpike, in the town of Dover, directly to Eric and Elizabeth Hagman, in the amount of $10,100, which includes the $1,100 administrative fee pursuant to RSA 443-A, subject to the conditions as specified in the request dated January 26, 2022. I will welcome the department here to explain the item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Steve Labonte. I'm the administrator of the Bureau of Right-of-Way. Just as a brief background, the Bureau of Right-of-Way is best described as the real estate group of the Department of Transportation, made up of land surveyors, real estate appraisers, land agents, and property managers. The subject parcel sits on the easterly side of Route 16. It was acquired in 1955 by Commissioner's Return of Layout, and at some time in the 60s, it looked like it basically became part of the backyard. I was out there last week. In fact, the right-of-way line goes right through a pool that was probably installed in the 60s. The Hagmans discovered this when they had their property surveyed. The surveyor noticed it. They contacted us, and they want to clean up their boundary lines. I can take any questions.
Any questions?
If I could, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. When we purchased this property, what did we pay for it?
I'm sorry, Senator, I can't answer that right now, but I certainly will get back to you by email.
And further question? So who made the appraisal that 10,000 covered the value of the property?
That was done with one of our in-house appraisers. Okay. And just a little nuance to this. I'm not sure if we paid anything for it because this was part of a road that was discontinued, and us as the abutters, it may have just reverted to us once the road was discontinued.
It was a state road?
No, the road that was discontinued, I believe, was a Class 5 highway or a Class 6 highway. But as I said, I will make sure to get back to you on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions on this item? Seeing none, what is the pleasure of the committee?
I move approval.
Senator D'Alessandro moves approval, seconded by Representative Cloutier. Is there any discussion on the item? Seeing none, All those in favor of the approval of item 22-004 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the item is approved. Moving on to the next item, LRCP 22-005, Department of Transportation. Authorization to grant an access point through the controlled access right-of-way on the easterly side of New Hampshire Route 12 in the town of Fitzwilliam directly to Keith and Terry Gustafson in the amount of $6,100, which includes a $1,100 administrative fee pursuant to RSA 440, Roman 3-A, subject to the conditions as specified in the request dated January 31st, 2022. And the department is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The access point is a short distance away from the Mass-New Hampshire border. Currently, the owners have access basically through the parking lot of a convenience store, and they're seeking to gain direct access to their property. Our district engineer went out, took a look at the traffic counts. They don't have concerns of adding an additional conflict point in this area, and basically the controlled access was established in 1959. Later in 2005, the bigger parcel was subdivided, and the access point, if granted, will be restricted to just serving the two single-family residences that are on the property.
Thank you. Questions to the department on this item? Seeing none, what is the pleasure of the committee?
Mr. Chairman,
Representative Cloutier?
thank you. I move approval of item 22-005.
Representative Cloutier moves approval of item 005. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Senator Hennessy. Is there any discussion on the item? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the item is approved. Moving on to the next item, LRCP 22-008, Department of Transportation. Authorization to sell 1.14 plus or minus acres of state-owned land on the westerly side of New Hampshire Route 32, Old Homestead Highway, in the town of Richmond, directly to Maurice Zielinski for $15,100, which includes a $1,100 administrative fee, subject to the conditions as specified in the request dated March 11th, 2022, and I recognize the department.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The parcel sits directly across from the Richmond Town Hall. It was acquired in 1963 after being leased for 22 years. It was a former gravel and salt storage area. Based on its current condition, the department hasn't used it in quite some time, and it is considered surplus to the department's operational needs. I can take any questions.
I note that in your request, you will solicit the input from the town and the Housing Finance Authority
Yes.
as required before this goes forward.
Yes.
Any other questions from the members of the committee on item 008? Seeing none, what is the pleasure of the committee?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move to approve.
Representative Mills moves approval of item 22-008. Is there a second?
Second.
Senator D'Alessandro moves second on item 008. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, what is the pleasure of the committee? Oh, got ahead of myself. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the item is approved. Next item is LRCP 22-009, Department of Transportation. Authorization to dispose of a 2± acre parcel of state-owned land located on the northeasterly corner of New Hampshire Route 111 and New Hampshire Route 28 in the town of Wyndham by entering into a listing agreement for a term of 1 year with Berkshire Hathaway Vernag Realty for the listing price of $120,000, allowing negotiations within the committee's current policy guidelines and pursuant to RSA 440 Roman 3-A, assess an administrative fee of $1,100, subject to the conditions as specified in the request dated March 8, 2022. Original approval, LRCP 17-019, granted September 19, 2017, with subsequent approval, LRCP 18-044 on November 29, 2018, and LRCP 16-034 on November 6, 2019. The department is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you just pointed out, this property has been up before the committee in the past to reduce the price. It was purchased in 2003 for $570,000. That was a 9-acre parcel. The parcel was then bisected by Route 111. In our construction, what we're doing here is trying to market the northern 2 acres. The problem with this parcel and why we haven't been able to move it is because all but basically a quarter of an acre is wet. It's all wetlands, so there's only about a quarter of an acre of property that can be developed. So we're asking to reduce that price. I believe right now it's being marketed at $450,000. We're asking to reduce that to $120,000 based on its development potential.
Thank you. I do have one question. What is the downside to the department if we elect not to put this back on the market at this point?
Honestly, it'll just be another piece of property we monitor and wait for an abutter to ask us to purchase it, or somebody comes along and asks us to do a surplus disposal.
Any further questions? Senator D'Alessandro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But if it's wetlands, are we using it for mitigation in any sense, in any
Currently,
project?
it's not, it wasn't purchased for mitigation, and it's currently not being used. It's not, we're not getting any mitigation credit currently from it.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. I can talk to our Bureau of Environment and see if there's some mitigation potential there.
Further point?
Further,
I
yeah.
think that might be a good idea. Why should we get rid of something when we can use it, when it does have a use, and it's also a value? In the ecological situation, it has some value. I mean, if we sell it, they're gonna fill it. Somebody's gonna ask to fill it, and they're gonna build on it, right? I mean, isn't that what usually happens when we get rid of property like this?
I'm not sure about filling in the wetlands, but they'll develop whatever they can.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions? My major concern is like annually about we lower the price a little bit. So now we're essentially asking to cut it well over in half from what we're currently trying to get. If there is potential for mitigation or a future sale, which may work out better for the state, I would not be opposed to turning down this request, but that is up for the committee to decide.
Mr.
Any
Chairman?
further questions?
Not only am I the department's representative, also the commissioner's designee as an advisory member of the committee. I'd like to maybe suggest it get tabled. I can investigate Senator
Great.
D'Alessandro's.
I would, if the
Okay.
chair will accept the motion,
I'll accept the motion at this time.
I would move to table.
And I will second that motion.
Senator D'Alessandro moves with Representative Cloutier seconding that this item be tabled until our next meeting. Is there any discussion on the tabling motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the item is tabled. For the next is the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. RSA 440, disposal of real estate. LRCP 22-007, Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, requests authorization to sell a .135 plus or minus acre portion of land located along the edge of the North Stratford Beecher Falls Rail Trail in West Stewartstown to Laurent and Christian Rancourt for the value of $3,200 and collect an administrative fee of $1,100 pursuant to RSA 440 Roman 3-A, subject to the conditions as specified in the request dated March 11th, 2022. And I recognize the department.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Craig Rennie. I'm the Chief of the Bureau of Trails at the New Hampshire Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. And as stated, the Rancourts approached DNCR about acquiring this small portion of state-owned land. This is on the North Stratford Beecher Falls Rail Trail that we manage. Their existing property abuts Route 3, and the trail is on the back side of their property. And previously there was a large garage that was on the property and extended into the area in question that we own. There was a small encroachment there, and my understanding is the garage has since burned, and it's the existing concrete pad that's there now. So it's a little over 1/10 of an acre that they're asking for. It doesn't affect our recreation trail use or management. It's separated by their property by a large drainage ditch, so it's a very narrow piece of land that abuts their parcel as well. So again, it's just requesting authorization to convey that to them with an appraisal determined at $3,200. And happy to
Any
take
questions? I do have one. Is there an anticipated use of this piece of property?
Yeah, my understanding is they're looking to redevelop the property into some kind of a convenience store at this location. And again, it's right off of our rail trail, and so it'll certainly benefit our riders.
Any further questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, what is the pleasure of the committee on item 22-007?
Move the item, Mr. Chair.
Senator Hennessy moves the item, seconded by Representative Mills. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, and the item is approved. Next, from the Department of Administrative Services, LRCP 22-011, authorization to enter into a use of premise agreement with the County of Rockingham, 119 North Road, Brentwood, New Hampshire, for leasing 18,053 square feet of office space of state-owned property located on the lower level of the Rockingham County Courthouse, located at number 10, Route 125, Brentwood, New Hampshire, from May 1st, 2022 to April 30th, 2025, for an amount not to exceed $579,139.08 for the schedule of annual rent and subject to the conditions as specified in the request dated March 15th, 2022. And the department is recognized.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Karen Rantamaki, Director of Plant and Property, and with me today is Sarah Lineberry, Superintendent of Court Facilities.
Good morning, Chairman and Committee. Today we're here looking for the committee to approve the use of premise agreement at the Rockingham County Courthouse. This would allow admin services to lease 18,053 square feet of space at the courthouse in the lower level to Rockingham County for the Registry of Deeds and for the County Attorney's Office. And the rental revenue covers our operating costs throughout the town.
Thank you. Questions of the committee? Senator Hennessy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to ask about the rental rates for this. We hear a lot in finance and sometimes in Ways and Means about the market rates right now and what the state has to pay for lease space. Is this comparable to lease rates for that the state is paying when we have to go out and find extra space?
So that's a very good question. We do have a formula that we are to follow when we determine rates. It's basically we are charged with recouping our operating costs and also 2% of the original construction costs of the courthouse. So those two combined figures make up what we charge our tenants in the state-owned buildings. It's different than, you know, the commercial real estate market.
Any further questions? Yeah, Representative Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have constituents throughout Rockingham County, so I'd like a little bit more of the backstory here on what we think is going to happen over the next 3 years. And some of this is probably more appropriate addressed to people from Rockingham County. But if they're freeing up space, do you know what they're going to do with that space? And how is it that we came upon, as a state, having over 18,000 square feet that's available? Did we overbuy? Did things change? How did we get here, and where are we going?
Sure. The courthouse was constructed in 1996, and as part of the construction process, the space was fit up for the county. So they were determined to be a tenant of the state at that time of construction. And so the whole lower level of the courthouse that the state owns is fit up primarily for county space. And the county, I believe, is going to be building a new facility for the county, but it will be out several years.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the answer.
Any further questions to the department on this item? Seeing none, what is the pleasure of the committee?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the approval of the LRCP 2211.
Representative Edgar moves item 22-011. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Representative Mills seconds the item. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the item is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to RSA 440, disposal of real estate, and RSA 228-67, disposition of acquired or abandoned rail properties. The department is here. LRCP 22-10, Department of Transportation, authorization to sell an ancillary parcel of railroad property of approximately 0.1 acres on the state-owned Northern Railroad corridor in the town of Enfield to Susan Brown for $1,500 plus a one-time administrative fee of $1,100, of which the department is in receipt of $500, subject to the conditions as specified in the request dated March 8, 2022.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, committee. My name is Lou Barker. I am with the Bureau of Rail and Transit at the Department of Transportation and responsible for railroad properties owned by the state in New Hampshire and Vermont, actually, but that's a whole different story. Interestingly, Miss Brown, listed in the request, had her property surveyed, and the survey determined that her front yard was in what was formerly the public access and depot property for the town at the town of Enfield. So she contacted us, and I investigated, and my investigation concurred with her survey that, yeah, that parcel is on the railroad property, and It has no future use for railroad service. Railroad service ended there in '66, I think, at the latest, and recommended that we sell this property, and it's here for your consideration.
Thank you. Questions? I do have one. In the paperwork you submitted with the request, it talks about that there are, this is only a portion of the, and what are we going to do with the rest of that piece of property?
We are hoping to do the same thing. Without making this too long a story, the town's ambulance building is actually located on this parcel. So I've been discussing this with the town manager, 3 town managers now, and hopefully we will be bringing this and a second parcel, which is owned by Miss Brown's abutter, to your attention later this year.
When you were doing the appraisal work on this did you figure out what the entire parcel was worth so that we could get a fair price from the other abutters?
Yes, I have a price for the abutter to her immediate east or south by timetable, and we are discussing the property with, I said, the town manager of Enfield, and eventually the selectman.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions on this item? Seeing none, what is the pleasure of the committee?
I'll move the item, Mr. Chair.
Senator Hennessy moves item LRCP 22-10. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion. Mr. Chair.
Representative Cloutier seconds the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved. We have 2 informational items, LRCP-22-006 and LRCP 22-12, which are the reports from the New Hampshire Council on Resources and Development. Is there any need or desire of members to discuss the informational items? Seeing none. The next item of business is our next meeting. I would like to propose that we meet on Monday, May 23rd. It is after everybody has to sign off on committees of conference and before we vote on committees of conference on the 25th, 26th, so that we are not back in here in June just for this meeting. Is there any objection from members of the committee to that date? At 9:30 in the morning, same time. And if the LBA would make sure that the agencies know that this will probably be the last meeting until the September timeframe. I do not intend to meet over the summer unless it's a critical need of the state for us to do something. And I know that many people will be out, members of the House and Senate will be campaigning or vacationing after 2 years of not getting out vacationing. So we will not meet until September, more than likely after the primary. So if you could just let them know that. Is there any further business from members? Representative Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if there's somebody from the department that could help address this, but with the recent vote in Finance Committee on the parking garage, 35 million, I think, I'm just curious what the process is for the state maintaining an inventory of buildings so that we're anticipating major costs of either tearing it down, like all those Sununu buildings. I'm curious where they are in the capital budget process, and the parking garage. And then if there are major renovations in a few years that we're expecting on one building or another, how does this committee interact, if at all, on the building side of the capital budget?
We do not. The capital budget is developed by the governor in conjunction with all the agencies and submitted to Public Works Committee of the House initially. We look at that with what the financial ability of the state to bond is, and then goes to the Senate. This committee does not look at those capital projects. Capital Budget Overview Committee does get reports on what is there. Those reports are online if you would care to look at them. The Department of Administrative Services also maintains a listing of all buildings that various agencies own, and that is updated. It does not talk about the physical needs of each piece of property. That is what the capital budget process is for, and there's always more needs than money. I'm not sure how the parking garage will be overseen, since Commissioner Arlinghouse had some questions about it. He was not sure if it was just going to be done totally by the legislature and its facilities committee, or if he was going to, or we were going to ask for help from the department. That is to be decided, and let's get the money approved in both the House and the Senate first before we worry about who's in charge of actually letting the contract go.
Thank you for the education. I appreciate it.
It took me several terms to figure it all out. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the committee is adjourned.
Move to adjourn.
I was just going to do it. Okay.
I gotta fill out this paperwork.
Representative Mills moves that that we adjourn. Senator Hennessy seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much. For those who stay for Capital Budget Overview Committee, that meets in 7 minutes. Thank you very much.